So my cousin that I took a picture with in the photo, like about a couple months ago, that is between 5'11" and a half and 5'11" and 3/4. I think he's probably 5'11" and 5/8. Um, I think that's probably his height. A lot of people, when they look at him, including my uncle, thought he was 6'1", and this is a noticeable trait of someone who is 5'11" and a half, 5'11" and 5/8. JFK was measured at 5'11" and a half. I think his peak height was probably 5'11" and 5/8. Honestly, probably peak height around there. Harrison Ford was probably around that height. So was Ronald Reagan. Um, and a lot of other people that have claimed to be 6'1", but have actually been around 5'11" and a half to 5'11" and 3/4 or whatever. So why does this height look like 6'1", right? And the reason why is because 182 centimeters isn't that much difference between 185 centimeters. So 182 centimeters is the 5'11" and a half to 5'11" and 3/4 range. And if you look at my cousin Henry, I mean, he's like here compared to me. Like his head is here, right? So, I mean, in eye level, you're looking at that. You're like, oh man, that looks like a couple inches taller than me. And I'm 5'11", so he must be 6'1", right? And so that is where he is. And it's like, oh my gosh. And if you uh, compare 5'11" and a half to 6'1", like a 5'11" and a half to 5'11" to 5'8" person was standing next to, or 5'11" and 3/4 person was standing next to someone who is 6'1", I mean, you really wouldn't notice a difference unless they were like, they they both took off their shoes and they both stood up straight, and then you would notice like a little bit of difference, like that much of a difference. Like 6'1" is maybe that much taller than 5'11" and a half, you know? So this is why the two are like look so similar. So JFK pulled off even the presidential height and said that he was 6'1", even though his medical records have always like at the age of 24 have maintained that he was 5'11" and a half. But I mean, honestly, if you're 5'11" and a half to 5'11" and 3/4 or whatever, you might as well claim 6'1", because I mean, it's not that much difference. When you put on your shoes, you practically are 6'1". I mean, you're literally right there. There's almost no difference. There's no one's gonna really like be able to tell that you're like 5'11" and a half unless they like look at you and be like, oh wait a minute, I'm 5'11", and you're like, they're gonna look at you and be like, yeah, you probably are 6'1", because like with the the eyesight difference or whatever, my eyesight is probably at like 5'7", 5'8". So when someone that's like here, it's like, oh my god, they must be 6'1". That's like 5'11" and a half compared to me, right? See, and it's barely taller than me, like a half inch, or 5'11" and a quarter and 3/4, like there. And it's like, oh my god, that must be 6'1". That looks like 2 inches, but it's really not.